Today I'm reviewing that new TV show called That Thrifting Show. It's Laura Spencer's new show, Laura Spencer of Flea Market Flip. And I'm going to share with you what I liked, what I didn't like, and be sure and stay until the end because one of the biggest issues I have with this show is a learning moment for everybody out there to help you avoid making mistakes when you're out thrifting and sourcing things secondhand for your home. And if you're new here, I'm Susan McDonald with Susan Jane Style, and I help people decorate and live stylishly by sourcing and styling their home with vintage and pre-owned home decor so they can make their home more beautiful. So first off, just a little background on this show. It's Laura Spencer's new show, a follow-up to the Flea Market Flip show, which I love. This new show is called That Thrifting Show. It's on Hulu. I have, again, watched all of the first 6 episodes that have been released. And honestly, I just don't feel nearly as inspired with this show as I did with Flea Market Flip. So I'm going to go over the points that I had. Again, I'm excited that Laura Spencer's back with this thrifting show. Yes, I can glean a few things that I liked and insights, but I just had a lot of issues with this show. So let me get started. My first issue is I never feel like I saw any of these contestants at a real thrift store. I feel like they were all at consignment stores. And like maybe the show should have been called That Consignment Store Show. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. I didn't recall any team actually shopping, videos showing them shopping in a thrift store. There were lots of consignment stores. I think there was at least one estate sale. I know that's one team did a dumpster dive. And then there was definitely consistently people shopping on Facebook Marketplace. The fact that they had so much consignment store, I felt like, well, I live in Los Angeles. It's a huge metropolitan area. I can think of 2 consignment stores that are close to me. And I don't really shop them very much because their prices aren't what I think of as thrift store pricing. It should be called like That Secondhand Furniture Show or Upcycling Furniture, something else. I feel like that's that title just kind of bothers me a little bit. So moving on, my second point that I have a problem with is the prize. So if you guys remember on Flea Market Flip, the winning team who had the most profitable flip, if you will, the winning team got a cash prize of $5,000. I think that's a really good prize. Even though the show, hasn't been on for several years, I still think a $5,000 prize is amazing. Take a trip, invest in your business, pay off some credit card bills. That's cash you can put in your pocket. Invest it. But the fact that this show, the prize is all of the items that you bought for your budget of $2,000 and all of the items from the booth that your competitors, the losing team, you get all of their stuff. And of the 6 episodes I watched, I think there were at least 2 teams that decided they didn't want these prizes, if you will, all of this furniture and decorative objects. They chose to just donate it back to a charitable thrift store. So I feel like, I just feel like a $5,000 cash prize is way more compelling because clearly I think that there was one couple, I think they were a couple, but it was a team. I think it was episode 6. It was the guys who had met being prop stylists. They were like, we live in New York. We don't have any place to store this stuff. So, they donated everything back. So, I have an issue with the prize. The third thing that I have, I didn't care for is I just felt like, especially the first couple episodes, I feel like it was like clown show. There were 2 themes. Each episode, there's 2 teams. Each team has a theme they have to decorate around. So in that first episode, I think one theme was color drench. The other theme was pattern play. I believe it was pattern play. And I think it should have just been called Color Drench Clown Show or Color Drench Clown and Pattern Play Clown. It was so much loud color. I mean, one of the rooms was completely painted in like a medium blue color, and then they did this vertical paintbrush line with a horizontal stripe. They did this all around the room. I think they even did it on the tabletop. It was just over the top, too much color. The other team with their assignment of pattern play, again, it should have been pattern play clown. They painted the entire room red. It was supposed to be a studio. They were supposed to be designing and sourcing home decor for a studio apartment. That orange, like who would want to come home to a completely orange room? That said, leading up to my next point, again, with this is with thinking of like all the episodes, there was just a ridiculous amount of color and a ridiculous amount of texture and placement of pieces. And I know they only had 24 hours, but I mean, just the scale of like what they were using as a coffee table didn't really relate to the sofa. It was just too much. I felt like there just wasn't a place in most of these rooms for the eye to rest. Another episode, there was, they painted the entire room like a plum color, and then they took a rolling device. It looked like a paint roller, and it actually had texture. It was like I guess like a snakeskin texture. And so they ran that all around the room. It was just so over the top and so busy. I didn't care for it at all. Again, overdone, too much color, too much texture, too much pattern. I did not care for that. The next issue I had, number 4, it bothered me that in one of the projects, there was a team that had 4 pieces of related, they were like styled like botanical prints. So there were 4 related seashells and they hung them in a quadrant. They did not hang the artwork at the correct height. The rule of thumb is the center of the artwork should be 60 inches, the center of the artwork. So to me, you take your quadrant, you figure out how much space you want in between, and then you choose your 60-inch mark, and everything should be centered. So they didn't do that, and that bothered me. And it wasn't because it was on top of a dresser or something. I just felt like if these people are really interior design people, they would have known that, and I think they would have hung the artwork at the appropriate height. My next issue is that I don't really think that these contestants were that savvy with their thrifting skills. I don't really think they thrift that much, to be completely honest, which makes me wonder, like, how did they find these people? Again, I've already seen some weaknesses with their design skills, but also they weren't that savvy regarding basic thrifting, especially prices and knowing what era certain items were from. So let me share here that in each episode, there were two contests, short contests between each of the teams. So the first contest, Laura would hold up an item and she would say, guess how much I paid for this item at a thrift store. So for example, one of her items was a set of 6 etched vintage champagne coupes from, roughly the 1940s, 1950s. So she holds those up and she asked the 2 teams, and each team had a whiteboard, so they were able to write down their number. What do you think I paid for these in a thrift store? So one team, I believe, said $65. The next team, I believe, said something like $125. My guess was $12. Now, I do know quite a bit about glassware and what things go for in my area, but even LA is a little on the high side. And I was like, probably $2 a glass, $12 for a set of 6. So Laura ends up sharing that she paid $11.99 for these glasses. So again, those teams were so far off in their guesses of $65 for the set and $125. So it really had me questioning, do these people actually thrift on a regular basis? Because I feel like anyone who thrifts would have would have come closer to those glasses. Now, the other contest that, again, I felt like the teams overall just really were off in getting this right. So each team was given 4 decorative objects, things like a lamp, a vase, some kind of like copper sculpture, some kind of sculptural piece, and maybe some other decorative item. And they were then given 4 signs or plaques that said 1970s, for example, 1940s, 1960s, early 2000s. And they had to match the object to the correct decade. Multiple teams over these 6 episodes, multiple teams did not even get one right. I would say most of the time people got, I think there was one team that might have gotten everything right, but most of the time they were getting like two out of 4. Again, there were at least 2 teams that like got it all wrong. So again, I don't know how much these people that they had on the show actually really know that much about vintage. Just a question. My next issue number 6, were the judges. I didn't really care for the way that they would choose the winner, that it was judges. I know it's a different concept and these people aren't taking their stuff to the flea market to sell it. But I wasn't really sure like how these judges were really qualified to judge these contestants and their projects. One of the judges, I think I actually follow him on TikTok. I actually follow him on TikTok. He has he worked for Ralph Lauren for years, so he has a Ralph Lauren background, I believe, working for Ralph Lauren Home. So I'll give him that you know, he's coming from that kind of background. But I didn't recognize there was a woman on there, and she was some kind of influencer, but I don't really know what her background is. And there was another guy that, again, I don't think he's known for his home decor. I could be wrong, but I would think that they would. To me, they would have chosen people that are really into decorating and styling, and interior designers that are really known for utilizing secondhand, pre-owned, thrifted items in styling their client's home. And these people just didn't strike me as having that background. So I would have wished that they would have had judges that were just more in line and more known for actually sourcing and using vintage and pre-owned home decor, thrifted, estate sale, whatever, for client projects. I just think that having people really with that background would have suited the show and just been better judges all around. My next point, number 7, is I just found that there was way too much stressful driving time footage for these contestants because they were given their assignment. Then they had to get in, I guess, these rented vans to drive around to source their things for their rooms. I just didn't really find that interesting. And watching people all stressed out because they're lost, I just didn't think that had that much to do with the storyline. And I think that there could have been another opportunity to just show more styling and how they were coming up with items for their project. Now, to bring me to the most important point and what we can all learn from this show. These people, in my opinion, just got their assignments of like, okay, you're going to be pattern play for your studio apartment, and you're going to be color drench for your studio apartment, or you're going to be modern farmhouse, you're going to be the MCM apartment or whatever. And I feel like these people just took that assignment, they jumped in their vans, and they just started sourcing and driving all over. And this to me, what their end results were. This is how people make mistakes when they're thrifting, and it's because they don't really have a plan. So what I think these teams should have done, every team from the beginning, like it would have been far more interesting to look at what their game plan was going to be, and that would be by making a mood board. The key here is, I think, and maybe they did this, but they didn't show it, each team should have made some kind of a mood board, whether that was cutting up magazines or, going to Pinterest and coming up with a mood board, trying to hone in on their color story and their theme and what kinds of things they wanted to bring into their project. And it's very clear to me that they skipped this, and I'm really pointing this out. And if there's one thing you take away from this video, it's this. So you're going to have the best results, especially if you're thrifting. You've got to have a plan, because if you're just going to the thrift store and buying things that, oh, I love this, or this is old, you're just not going to come up with a cohesive look. You're going to have far better results if you have a roadmap and you have done some kind of work to know what kinds of colors you're wanting to bring in, so that you can zone in and know, this is modern farmhouse. This is mid-century modern in an orange brown palette. This is so crucial for everybody to take this step, because it's going to help you not waste money buying things that don't work. Most thrift stores do not allow returns. Unlike, say, Home Goods, at least you can return exchange in case it doesn't work. But, that's a project in itself. You want to get it right the first time. So again, make a mood board. That's why we saw a lot of kind of mishmash of things and an overload of color on many occasions. If this had been part of the show, I think that this would have been really a nice way for people to see how the teams kind of zoom in on their shopping list, their color palette, and how they can bring their vision to life. So you can do that too. Again, it's pretty easy. Just do a cutout magazine mood board, or do something in Pinterest. The key to doing this step and making a plan is you're going to have better results. You're not going to waste money. You're going to be able to bring your vision to life and really be on point with it. And there's one really good example in these episodes in that one team was assigned modern farmhouse. And I remember when the judges were actually going through their project, they said, well, you guys were assigned modern farmhouse and this looks like traditional farmhouse. So even they, got off track because I'm pretty sure they probably didn't do some kind of, do a little powwow and really get on the same page with palette, what they should be seeking to really come up with what exactly is modern farmhouse. So I want to know, have you guys watched the Thrifting Show? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I'd love to hear your comments, so please leave a comment below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it out and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, decorate and live stylishly. I will see you next time.